Hey, Chris. So I'm here on a different thing. Is there a movie presentation for the historic preservation?
There is.
Awesome. Okay.
Right there. That,
Awesome. I just want to make sure you guys got it.
Yes, we did.
Awesome.
Okay.
So, this is my husband. I don't know. You've met, right?
Yes, I met.
How
you doing again? Good to see you.
Doing the presentation, so.
Yes. Movie whenever you do.
Which is more or less just going to be me saying thank you for all the support.
Good.
A short little movie.
Make sure somebody's standing by the lights. It's always good to turn it off for a while.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, if they love me. No, I'm just gonna.
Stand by that switch.
Yeah. I'm back. I couldn't get enough of you guys.
Citizen Mary. Okay, you only have 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that's how I want him collected in the minutes. Yeah.
I'm glad you're here. Probably the. I don't.
He's right behind you.
And everybody find out the last finding first. I feel like I'm at
What?
You feel mad at me? No. No. Hey.
I'll get even.
What did you doing?
What?
Right up there. One time, y'all listen.
Oh my God, Larry, policy. The one that has the powerful that heat. But we may or may not have to. I know her. I know you.
I know that I hear that. It's just in case. That's the phrase, like, don't steal the picture of your religion.
Is she the attorney girl? Oh, that's right. You are the attorney girl. You get 15 minutes. I'll give on to Larry 5 minutes. Hey, how you doing?
I get 15 minutes.
You get 15. Larry gets 5. 3. Larry only gets 3.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting, Sanford City Commission, June 14th, to order. Okay. And first order of business is legislative prayer by Pastor John Starling from the Trinity Free Will Baptist Church. Pastor Starling.
Thank you for having me today. And that's Joseph Starling, by the way. Not a problem, though. I've been called worse things, so that's the worst thing I've been called in my life. I think I'll be okay. All right? Let's pray. There's a proverb, 11:14, I'd like to just read. It says, where there is guidance, where there is no guidance, a people falls. But in the abundance of counselors, there is safety. Heavenly Father, we come to you asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help this board engage in inclusive, meaningful discussions. Allow them to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Continue to remind us all that we do here today and all that we accomplish here is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. And finally, Lord, let justice and fairness flow like a river that never runs dry. We ask this and all these things in the name of your Son. Amen.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a number of presentations this evening. First is we have our Representative David Smith here to give us an update on the state legislative session.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission members. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. For those of you who don't know me, maybe more so in the audience, I'm David Smith. So I represent House District 28, which for Sanford is everything east of 1792. So we had our regular legislative session, which most people know meets for 60 days. We did that, finished up on April 30th, and then came back for a couple of days in the middle of May to do a special legislative session that dealt with the expansion of casino gaming in the state of Florida, and I'll touch on that briefly. So I'm sure, as you can imagine, a legislative session in the era of COVID was difficult. Just to manage expectations of what we were going to be able to accomplish was significant. I thought going in, we would be very focused on new COVID policy, probably wouldn't have a lot of time for other bills and other major legislation in Florida. And we were going into session with an expectation of potentially a $4 to $6 billion hole in the state budget, which last year was $90 billion, of which about $30 billion are federal dollars. So when you talk about a $4 to $6 billion out of which $60 billion of state money, that's a significant shortfall. However, none of this turned out to be true, thankfully. State revenues were up significantly, getting the economy back open. About $10 billion of federal money through the first stimulus package by President Trump and the two others passed by President Biden. And that's really the third one is just starting to trickle into Florida. But we got about $10 billion of federal money to help the state. One of the first things, before I talk specifically about legislation, because the most important thing we do in the legislature, we only have one constitutional responsibility, and that's to pass a budget. And that budget has to be balanced. And we did that this year. But one of the things that we did was with that federal dollars, we took some state expenses, state money. We took $4 billion of that state money, put it in our rainy day fund. We have 3 of them, budget stabilization funds. Now that we're in hurricane season, we're going to need that money someday. That's that rainy day fund. We now have more money in our reserves than we had pre-COVID, which I think is a good thing. So then we use that federal dollar to backfill the state money. So we passed about $100 billion state budget. Many things were good. It really, probably priorities, when we go through the budget and talk about legislation, were 3 main issues. Was the economy, getting the economy back open, fully open, because we have a sales tax-based revenue system. It was important to get the economy back open, and we passed legislation that did that. And we adopted some things that we learned during COVID, we put into place permanently. The one that gets all the news is to-go liquor out of restaurants now. We did more than that. So we got to get the economy going. I'll touch on an issue that was very difficult to deal with, as most people, I'm sure, this commission dealt with, was unemployment. I know in my district, my team and I helped 5,000 constituents get their unemployment money when the state when unemployment spiked due to COVID, but the website crashed. Well, one of the most important things we did this legislative session was appropriate $74 million, not to fix the broken unemployment system. We got to replace it. It's total crap. We got to fix it. We got to replace the whole thing. And we appropriated money, and we'll start working on that to do that. We had 49 other states to choose from that did it better than Florida. So we're capturing those lessons learned, and we're working on it. Probably one of the most other big issues that we did was COVID liability. And why that was the most important thing, I think, piece of legislation, was to get businesses open without the fear of a frivolous lawsuit, where somebody could just say, oh, I got COVID in your business, I'm going to sue you, and then they want to be paid just to go away. Those type of frivolous lawsuits. That's what we took action against, so businesses could open. Now, if you got COVID in a business, you can sue the crap out of them, just like you could a restaurant if you got E. coli there and they didn't take proper steps. You can still sue, but it's the frivolous lawsuits that we took action to prevent. And I had many business owners here in the district and across Florida that would tell me they were at a crossroads. Do I get a PPP loan, another PPP loan from the federal government? Do I put more of my own money in to keep the doors open and the employees working? Or do I just call the bank and say, come get the keys, I'm shutting it down? And that creates a domino effect. People get business closes. Employees lose their jobs. Folks wind up homeless or in shelters, wind up with more domestic abuse, child abuse, people wind up in jail. We couldn't let those dominoes start falling. So we took action to stop the frivolous lawsuits. We did a couple other things. Education was a priority because everybody knows how the schools were impacted. There is more money going into education in the state of Florida today than in the history of the state. Not only in base student allocation, but in other monies. We've added $50 million for teacher pay raises. That was on top of the $500 million we did the year prior. So it's not where it needs to be, but we're working on it. But $50 million was a good step in the right direction. We put more money into environmental cleanup, restoration, and preservation. Not only for Lake Okeechobee, more clean water into the Everglades, but what's important for Central Florida is springs restoration that is so important to us in this area of Central Florida. There's more money. There was about 600 and some odd million directly into waterway cleanup, what I call water restoration and restoration. One of the other things we did that dealt with wildlife, and it wasn't we added a new law, we took a law off the books and we repealed what were going to be the 3 new additional toll roads that were going to be in Florida. One of those made the news quite often is the road to nowhere. It was a road that went up to the Florida border with Georgia and then just ended. There was no road to nowhere. Road to nowhere. We repealed that. We'll figure out how Florida's going to grow and where they're going to grow, but not just to build roads to nowhere. A couple other things that we did. So in the business community, the economy was important, the environment was important, education were important. Those were the highlights. We did some other things that dealt with election laws. Probably the most misreported, improperly reported bill we passed. We passed another number one priority of the governor was an anti-rioting bill. What we saw on TV in Portland and other areas, businesses being destroyed, you're not going to be able to riot in Florida. You're already going to jail. That's another one that often gets misreported. Has absolutely nothing to do or negatively impact peaceful protesting. But if you riot in Florida, you're going to jail. You burn down somebody's business, you're going to jail. And the governor actually signed that before we even got out of the legislative session. So there were several others. One of the things that's really hitting my constituents and probably all of us is insurance. If you've ever watched any of my Facebook videos, you'll know in Florida, we are artificially high insurance costs, not only for homeowners, but for auto insurance. So we have taken steps to create a more competitive market to bring people in, because a lot of the big guys, 94% of the insurance that's sold in the state of Florida is from Florida companies, because we can't get other insurance companies to come from out of state and offer insurance in Florida. We've got to create a better, more competitive market, drive those rates down, and we took steps to do that. We still have another bill that's going to affect auto insurance. And if you're a high-risk driver, your rates are probably going up. The rest of us will probably go down over time. But we were repealing what Florida's called the no-fault in Florida. Only two states had it, and we're repealing it. We've seen in other states those rates go down. And that's what we need in Florida. And a lot of it deals with litigation costs. It's not fixing your car, it's attorney's fees that are driving. It's the same thing with roof damage. It's not the roof repair or the roof replacement. It's the legal fees. When 1 out of 3 homeowners has a claim the insurance company doesn't find out about it from the homeowner. They find out from a law firm because they're being sued. And the insurance company didn't even know anything about that there was an even claim. So those are some things that we're going to do to try to handle the litigation costs. So just to wrap up, so we focused this session on the economy post-COVID. We worked on a significant amount of education bills. Florida now has more school choice options for parents than any other state in America. I'm proud of that, and I'm proud to have been a part of that. My Schools of Hope bill allows persistently low-performing school districts to have a school of hope. That's where 97% of those students are on free or reduced lunch. 93% of those students are African American, and it gives them a pathway out of the cycle of poverty in those neighborhoods. Still waiting on the governor to sign that one, but he will soon. And again, environmental cleanup is critical to Florida. People don't visit Florida. They don't want to come to live in Florida because we have great strip malls. It's our wildlife. It's our waterways. It's the environment that makes Florida Florida that we need to protect. So it was a good session. We came back, and in my final 30 seconds here, we came back to do a bill on, 3 bills actually, on gaming. If you like gambling, you'll like this bill because it now allows the casinos that currently exist in Florida to offer at the Seminole casinos craps and roulette and some other games that they couldn't do before. And if you don't want gambling, you'll like this bill also because it ensures that there's no expansion. There's no additional casinos that are going to be built. What you're going to allow is more table games in existing facilities that are already approved in that Seminole compact. The compact is a term that is used to replace contract. The governor negotiated it. Now the legislature had to implement legislation that will allow that. It guarantees the state of Florida an additional $500 million of revenue over those first 5 years. We get a percentage, but that $500 million a year is the floor. I think we'll probably get more than that if the projections go well. And if we want to do things like more pay raises, if we want to do things for the environment, we want to do additional things, we need to put more money into arts and culture. That was one area we did not get across the finish line to the extent that it should be. And I look at the great artwork that's up on the walls today. We did increase the budget by about 10%, but it's woefully short of what it ought to. And when arts and culture investment in Florida returns 9-to-1 return on investment, if we put more money into art, more people, when they go to a concert or they go to something, they're out there having dinner, they're coming in, they're spending the overnight, they're taking an Uber ride, delivers 9-to-1 return on investment, and we didn't do what we should have done and put more money there. But all in all, it was a pretty good session. We got a lot more than I thought we would. We start up again. The legislative session in 2022 starts in the 11th of January. So I'm going back to Tallahassee starting in mid-September, and we'll start the committee week process where we'll start hearing bills in preparation for the January session. So as the mayor and others that we've talked about before, those appropriation requests, I got 5 of my 6 approved through the budget, so I've learned how to do it. So as the city of Sanford and the airport and other authorities, as we work towards the next legislative session, let's start working early on those requests that can help Sanford. Because the number one thing I've learned in the legislature in the 3 sessions I've been there is the answer is always no unless you ask. So, thank you very much, Mayor. Appreciate the time to everybody, and I think everybody has my phone number and can reach me at any time.
Any questions, comments?
Just, once again, want to say to you how important home rule is to us, and how over the years, it has to some degree been eroded. With all due respect to Governor DeSantis, in particular, he does not have a reputation of being a big supporter of home rule. But I will tell you that is something that League of Cities keeps a close eye on, keeps us closely informed on, and I just think that as much great work as you all do, there are some things that we can do better on a local level because we know our city, we know our residents, and so I just want to encourage you, please, to always keep that in mind when you're making decisions that might affect home rule.
Anything else? All right. I'm glad you brought up the arts and culture, and I appreciate your support on that. I know in Sanford we got about $55,000 to $60,000 out of grants for that, and I think the zoo got another $70,000. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I say something? I wanted to give kudos to Representative Smith. I ran into an issue 2 months ago where DOT was destroying some woods in my district, and we had no alternative. We didn't have an answer, but called the public works director, and he said, "There's nothing I can do." So I reached out to Mr. Smith. He left the floor of the House while in session to call me, and then they called DOT, and we had the demolition stopped within 30 minutes. And to this date, we still haven't lost any more of those woods. The issue is still being worked on, but without Representative Smith answering my text, calling me, getting immediately onto it, we would have lost all those woods, probably destroyed Lake Ada.
Wow.
So I appreciate your help.
I'm glad you had said that also, because it reminds me that, of all the legislators I've dealt with, you are certainly the most responsive, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Happy to help. As we talk about, and I often, people call me because I give my home phone number out quite often, and people are surprised that I actually answer it. But when you have a problem with a state agency, who do you call? Well, you call your state representative or your state senator. But people don't often understand that, and I'm like, oh, I spent my career in the Marine Corps, 30 great years. So I ran for office just as an extension of my lifetime of service, and I tell people, I work for you. I'm here to serve, and if I can help, all you got to do is call me.
Well, within 24 hours of that call, I had a meeting with 8 DOT employees, some high-ranking employees, and they all said, "You rattled the right tree yesterday."
Pleasure to be here with you
All
tonight.
right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you, Representative.
Next, we have a presentation for the Historic Preservation Awards.
Thank you. So thank you for the opportunity to share with you the details of the Sanford Historic Trust 2021 Preservation Awards. As cooperative partners and stakeholders in the protection, preservation, and cultivation of the historical heritage within our richly diverse community, we thought it'd be important to share the details of these efforts and this year's awards with you and your constituents. This year, our Preservation Committee received a number of nominations. Quite honestly, they had many difficult decisions to make with a number of submissions. Each award recipient was presented with a certificate and a plaque to display on their property at our May general membership. I'm thrilled to announce that the committee highlighted 4 homes and a new business, with a second business identified as a runner-up. I've actually brought a brief YouTube video highlighting each of the award winners. If you could play that. partnership and cooperation with the city is absolutely essential to the successful pursuit of our organization's mission. The renovations and efforts that you saw in this video required close coordination with the city staff on behalf of the homeowners and business owners. And your staff and folks really are just phenomenal on helping them to navigate the nuances of these codes. We truly appreciate your support and look forward to continued collaborations, such as our joint support of the historic Georgetown Street Topper project that's currently underway. So thank you for all that you do, and do not hesitate to reach out to the Historic Trust in regards to future efforts and projects.
Thank you. Those are absolutely stunning.
Thank you very much.
All right, next is a proclamation for Amateur Radio Week, which I'll read into the minutes. Whereas the city of Sanford recognizes the importance of all of Seminole County's licensed amateur radio operators for their invaluable public service of providing emergency radio communications in time of need. And whereas these amateur radio operators donate their time and talent to our community in the interest of public safety and welfare. Whereas the Lake Monroe Amateur Radio Society's Field Day event serves to test the ability of amateur radio operators to set up two-way radio communications and operate continuously for 24 hours in hardship conditions, which demonstrates their ability to mitigate the loss of formal communications in the event of a large-scale natural disaster. Whereas this year's Amateur Radio Field Day will take place June 21st to 27th, 2021, and more than 40,000 amateur radio operators across the United States and Canada will be participating from various remote locations. Now, therefore, I, Art Woodruff, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Sanford, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of June 21st to 27th, 2021 as Amateur Radio Week in the city of Sanford, and urge all citizens to pay tribute to all amateur radio operators of Seminole County and the important role they play in emergency management. Next, we have a proclamation for the Florida Dominators. We could go ahead and have the players and coaches come on. Whereas Coach Greg Hardy II formed the Florida Dominators in 2020, and whereas the Florida Dominators play in the Youth Spring Football League, which has over 200 teams in Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and South Carolina, and whereas Coach Greg believes that kids are the future and the goal of a sports program should be to guide, mentor, and coach the youth in life skills, discipline, decision-making, and making great grades. Whereas in the 2021 season, the under-6 team consisted of Aaron Armstrong, Rain Armstrong, Demarion Bradley, Trenton Brunbridge, Elijah Campbell, Richard Campbell, Nathaniel Galloway, Caden Hall, Antonio King, Joseph Knight, Donovan Mitchell, Sebastian Ordonez, Rashawn Scott, Demarion Taylor, Donovan Williams, and Alfred Willingham. And whereas this under-6 team was coached by Joe Knight with assistant coaches LaShawn Carden and Frank Williams, and whereas the team was undefeated with a 10-0 record against teams from St. Cloud, Orange Park, Apopka, Port Orange, Okeechobee, Orange City, Tampa, and Miami, and whereas the under-6 Florida Dominators won the 2021 Florida State Championship by defeating the South Florida Hit Squad by a score of 19-14 on May 2nd, 2021. And whereas these young men showed hard work, tenacity, teamwork, and dedication throughout the season in order to achieve their goal. Whereas the city of Sanford wants to congratulate these young men, their coaches, and families. Now therefore, I, Art Woodruff, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Sanford, Florida, do hereby proclaim June 14th, 2021 to be Florida Dominators Day. The City of Sanford and the city extends congratulations for a job well done.
All those trophies up, boys.
All these trophies up.
If he just throw that t-shirt on top of the one he's wearing.
One out.
Daddy, you had to go out there.
Why do they call you fat?
All right. Congratulations, guys.
Not leaving. Daddy, ever leaving?
That will bring us to the Business Commission. First item is minutes from the May 24th, 2021 work session and regular meeting.
Move to.
Second. A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Next, the consent agenda, A through K, unless someone wants to pull.
Mr. Mayor, there is a correction on agenda item 6I, approve special event permit for continuation of the weekly Kaleidoscope Asian Market in noon. It should be every Sunday through July 4th, as opposed to August 22nd. This is where they, August, I think July 5th or 6th is when they're going to start the construction on the roadway. So it should be through July 4th in front of the right of way at Henry Street.
Okay.
Move to approve said correction.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. That brings us to public hearings. Second reading of ordinance 4607. Mr. Colby.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance is entitled an ordinance of the City of Sanford, Florida, amending the City of Sanford comprehensive plan as previously amended, providing for amendment of the future land use map, of the future land use element of the City of Sanford comprehensive plan, relative to certain real property approximately 0.42 acres in size, located at 299 Monroe Road, within the city limits, said property being more specifically described in this ordinance, providing for legislative findings and intent, providing for assignment of the land use designation for the property, providing for adoption of maps by reference, providing for severability, providing for ratification of prior acts of the city, providing for complex, providing for codification, and directions to the code codifier, providing for the implementation of the statutory expedited state review process and an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Commission, the city received a request to amend the comprehensive plan future land use designation for 0.2 acres at 299 Monroe Avenue. Staff finds that the small scale land as amended is appropriate and suitable for the subject site and is comparable with the surrounding land uses and is consistent with the City of Sanford's comprehensive plan, joint plan agreement, and Chapter 163 of the Code of Statutes. On May 6, 2021, The staff recommends the approval of the planning commission approved and recommend the city commission adopt ordinance number 4607.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone from the audience wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Bring it to commission for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. First reading of ordinance 4608. Mr. Colbert.
This ordinance is entitled an ordinance of the city of Sanford, Florida, annexing by voluntary petition certain real property generally addressed as 1803 Tangerine Avenue, located contiguous to the city of Sanford, together with associated right-of-way within the area of the annexed property in accordance with voluntary annexation provisions of section 171.044 Florida statutes, redefining the boundaries of the city of Sanford to include said property, amending the boundaries of the city in accordance with the provisions of section 166.031 Florida statutes, providing for findings, providing for conditions, directing the city clerk to record the ordinance with the clerk of the circuit court, with the chief administrative officer of Seminole County with the Department of State, providing for a legal description of the map, providing for incorporation of that exhibit, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, taking administrative actions, providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the city commission, city staff have reviewed the request for annexation and found the request to meet the criteria set forth in the Florida statutes relating to voluntary annexation. The property's boundaries are contiguous to the city's boundaries and are reasonably compact. Therefore, staff's recommendation, city commission approve the first reading of ordinance number 4608 to annex 0.2 acres, bearing the address of 1803 Tangerine Avenue, as legally described into the city of Sanford.
This is a public hearing. Anyone from the audience wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and bring it to commission for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. This is first reading of ordinance 4609. Mr. Colbert.
This ordinance is entitled an ordinance of the city of Sanford, Florida, annexing by voluntary petition certain real property generally addressed as 600 Riverview Avenue, that includes 610 Riverview Avenue and 2511 Narcissus Avenue, located contiguous to the city of Sanford, together with associated right-of-way within the area of the annexed property in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of section 171.044 Florida statutes, redefining the boundaries of the city of Sanford to include said property, amending the boundaries of the city in accordance with the provisions of section 166.031 Florida statutes, providing for findings, providing for conditions, directing the city clerk to record the ordinance with the clerk of circuit court, with the chief administrative officer of Seminole County, with the Department of State, providing for a legal description of the map, providing for incorporation of that exhibit, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, taking the administrative actions, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the city commission, the city staff have reviewed the request for annexation and found the request to meet the criteria set forth in section 1.7044 as it relates to voluntary annexation. Property's boundaries are contiguous with the city boundaries and are reasonably compact. It is therefore the staff's recommendation to the commission approve the first reading of ordinance number 4609 to annex 0.63 acre bearing the address of 600 Riverview Avenue, 610 Riverview Avenue, and 2511 Narcissus Avenue as legally described into the city of Sanford.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone from the audience wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Bring it to commission for action.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Let's do first reading of ordinance 4610. Mr. Colbert.
This ordinance is entitled an ordinance of the city of Sanford, Florida, annexing by voluntary petition certain real property Generally addressed as 1838 Roseberry Lane, located contiguous to the city of Sanford, together with associated right-of-way within the area of the annexed property in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of section 171.044 Florida statute, redefining the boundaries of the city of Sanford to include said property, amending the boundaries of the city in accordance with the provisions of section 166.031 Florida statutes, providing for findings, providing for conditions, directing the city clerk to record the ordinance with the clerk of the circuit court with the chief administrative office of Seminole County with the Department of State, providing for a legal description and a map, providing for incorporation of that exhibit, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, taking of administrative actions, providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, the city staff have reviewed this request for annexation and found the request to meet the criteria set forth in Florida statutes. It is therefore staff's recommendation to the commission approve the first reading of ordinance number 4610 to annex 0.46 acre bearing the address of 1838 Roseberry Lane as legally described into the city of Sanford.
This is a public hearing where anybody wish to speak to this item. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and bring it to the commission for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Brings us to the first reading of ordinance 4611. Mr. Colbert.
This ordinance is entitled an ordinance of the city of Sanford, Florida relating to a current plan development and rezoning of the PD zoning district classification parcel of 9.59 acres from the West Sanford Business Park PD located at project address 205 Arrow Lane to the R1 restricted industrial zoning district classification, said real property being located at 205 Arrow Lane and assigned tax parcel identification numbers listed therein, located within the city limits, providing for findings and intent, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the city commission, the city staff have reviewed the information provided and has found the request to rezone to be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. The city's planning and zoning commission conducted a public hearing to determine if the proposed rezoning is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the city's comprehensive plan. Pursuant to the findings of the public hearing along with staff, the city's planning and zoning commission recommend that the city commission adopt ordinance to rezone 9.98 acres at the project address of 205 Arrow Lane from planned development to restricted industrial.
This is a quasi-judicial matter, and as such requires disclosure of all ex parte communications, investigations, site visits, and expert opinions regarding this matter. Does anyone have anything to disclose?
No.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone from the audience wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing, bring it to commission for action.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Brings us first reading of ordinance 4612. Mr. Colbert.
This ordinance is entitled an ordinance of the City Commission, City of Sanford, Florida, substantially and comprehensively revising and amending the provisions of Schedule N, City of Sanford Land Development Regulations relating to an array of subdivision requirements, providing for cities, provisions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for an exhibit, modification, correction of privilege areas, providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the city commission, the Florida statute requires the city's local planning agency to review proposed land development regulations and make recommendations to the city council as to the consistency of the changes with the adopted comprehensive plan. Accordingly, on June 3rd, 2021, the City Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended the City Commission approve the provisions of the subject proposed ordinance number 4612.
Step. Do you have a presentation on this, or?
Cash, Public Works Engineer. I don't actually have a presentation, but I'm willing to answer any questions you might have.
Anyone have any questions? Staff? I had one that we emailed about, and I failed to remember who I discussed this with. And apparently it was not you.
This might have been in Russ's.
It might have been. And it came up because of the subdivisions out on Brisson. And, you know, they've got all their nice lighting inside their subdivision, but there is no lights, no street lights on Brisson itself. And so I think this might be a spot where we add in an item that in reviewing a subdivision, we look at the roads outside the subdivision and see if they also need street lights added by the developer. So,
What would be our limit, basically?
How far you mean?
Would it be to a major roadway, or at least, or just adjacent to the?
I think it would be an adjacent street.
An adjacent street.
You asked a question I hadn't thought that far on.
Well, I mean, we are getting some subdivisions that are further off the beaten path, so to speak, now, just the Wyndham and the others out there. We're looking at some that are down in fairly far as well. So.
But even if you bring them out to Lake Mary Boulevard, there are no lights on Lake Mary Boulevard anyway.
Right.
That's true.
But, you know.
So directly adjacent streets now.
And I don't know how you write it, so a lot of places it says based on the administrative official using sound planning principles to decide how far it would have to be.
You can do that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Questions? Okay. Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anyone from the audience wish to speak to this item? Being no one, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
Oh, I was coming.
Did you want to speak on this item?
Oh, no, I couldn't. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it to commission, and how Mr. Colbert is would a motion need to be phrased to add in the change?
If the commission so determines, a motion to approve with the added condition of lighting adjacent to the subdivision in accordance with sound administrative planning, something of that nature, whatever the commission chooses. It'll come back on second reading with an amendment to it.
Great. So if you all agree with my suggestion.
It's too wordy.
You read through that?
Move to approve with said addendum requiring additional lighting to adjacent streets at a distance to be determined by the appropriate staff.
That's good, Mr. David. Second.
All right, motion and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Brings us first reading of ordinance 4613.
This ordinance is entitled an ordinance of the City Commission, City of Sanford, Florida, pertaining to flooding and floodplain management, amending Chapter 46, Code of Ordinances of the City of Sanford, relating to floods in order to locate previous amendments to the Florida Building Code and providing for certain administrative amendments to the Florida Building Code, specifying elevation of manufactured homes and flood hazard areas, providing criteria for accessory structures in flood hazard areas, providing for applicability, providing for legislative findings and intent, providing for a savings provision, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for effectiveness.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, the city's current provisions of Chapter 46 of the City Code do not conform to the changes made by the National Floodplain Insurance Program or the Florida Building Code, and does not in a form acceptable to them. Ordinance number 4613 is amending the provisions of the code to be consistent and to be compliant with their laws. Therefore, it is the city staff's recommendation, city commission approve ordinance number 4613 on first reading.
Y'all want anybody to come up? Very good. Okay. This is public hearing. Anyone from the audience wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one, close the public hearing. Bring the commission for action.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. That brings us to other items. 8A, approve the condemnation of structure 1108 Laurel. Mr. Bunsen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the city commission, based on the findings of the building official, the fire marshal, and city manager, it's the staff's recommendation that the order of condemnation be approved by the city commission for the structure located at 1108 Laurel Avenue.
Is anyone from the audience here to speak on this item? Okay. And bring it to the commission.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. That brings us to waiver. Oh, yes.
Thank you for making this happen expeditiously. I had asked you to look into this and get the process going, and we've done that.
And for the residents, normally you would see the pictures of the property, but it is a demolition that was well deserved, so thank you.
So approve waiver of interest on 14 municipal liens. Mr. Park.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the city commission, it is the staff's recommendation, the city commission waive the interest on 14 municipal liens on two properties. This is contingent upon their payment of $2,663 within 30 days. One is a vacant lot at 15th Street, and the other is another vacant lot on 15th Street.
Anyone here to speak on this item? Any commission?
Move to approve.
Second. Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. That brings us to resolution 2956. Mr. Park.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the city commission, it is the staff's request that we reclassify one full-time employee purchasing analyst position in the finance department to one full-time employee purchasing coordinator. Under this, the city staff's recommendation, city commission approved resolution number 2956, amending the city's classification and pay plan.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Approve resolution 2957.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the city commission, this is another amendment to the classification and pay plan, we're referring to the recreation department. Earlier tonight, the recreation department directed me the presentation of the staff recommendation that the city commission approve resolution number 2957, amending the city's classification and pay plan to implement the changes recommended.
Okay, discussion or motion?
I have a lot of questions for Jerry. Can you come up?
I move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously.
I was just making sure he's awake.
Brings us to resolution 2958.
Mr. Mayor, members of the city commission, staff is asking approval of resolution 2958 to amend the budget in amount not to exceed $157,248 to increase the utility South Water Resource Center repair and maintenance account.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. And that brings us to 2959.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the city commission, with the staff's recommendation, city commission approved a Reese engineering proposal in the amount of $204,951 to perform a wastewater master plan for the city of Sanford's collection and transmission system and the associated budget amendment implementing resolution number 2959.
All right. Any questions or motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. That brings us to city. Oh no, we have now
One emergency.
a provision of emergency water service at 1799 Andrew Avenue, Mr. Sanford.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the city commission, the city staff recommends the city commission approve and emergency request for city utility services for water to the property at 1709 Anthony Avenue, with the property owner being responsible for the payment of all application fees and connection charges to the city's distribution system, with all the utility connections and lines to be installed as required by the city, with the property owner being responsible and being required to be either the higher of the city or county development standards.
Okay. Motion, second? Second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. That brings us to city attorney comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no additional items to bring to you this evening.
City clerk's report.
Yeah, I have your favorite subject. We need the alternate for the P&Z board because you may be familiar that Jerry Wells has given his resignation for P&Z. And we have Ashley Woodard as our alternate currently, so we would be looking for an alternate.
I did not know Jerry was.
So do you want me to bring that forward to,
Yes.
do you want new applicants or to choose from the
How many
ones
applicants do we have in the,
that? About 6.
are they ones we've interviewed before?
Some are and some are not.
So we're gonna move Miss Woodard up to,
Yes, to that position.
So you have to have an alternate for the alternate?
No, she's gonna be.
She's gonna
she's gonna move
fill
up.
Jerry
So
Bell's
the
position.
alternate fills the vacant position and then we'll appoint a new alternate. That way it's kind of training for them.
Okay.
If we appoint her to the position.
Well, that's the point of,
Oh, no, but we haven't always.
Yeah, we have.
Yes.
I'm not suggesting we don't,
Right.
but it's not an automatic move. We still have to make
That's
it.
it.
So,
So what, I didn't know what you want to do with applications.
what's the next, meeting?
July 1st.
Okay, so do we need to do that tonight, or do you want to do it at the next meeting? Put it on the agenda for this meeting.
We can make it Ashley official tonight, but we need to. do
I
that.
can advertise from now until then, or you can use the ones that you have.
I kind of hate advertising for an alternate. You know, especially since they're not guaranteed to get the position. I think we need to look at the applications that we've already got and see if there wasn't somebody else that.
I agree. I agree with that.
But I
Do
have.
need to do the appointment this evening.
Yes.
Okay. So,
I'll move to appoint Ashley Woodard, second P&Z.
okay, motion second, any discussion?
Excuse me, she is not Ashley Woodard. Yes, she used to be Ashley Crosby,
Yes.
that's right.
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was here earlier.
Okay,
And
so
then-
motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Okay.
And then I will get applications.
If you could check the applications on file and make
Yeah.
sure they're still interested,
Yeah.
and then let's pick an alternate from those.
Yes.
Okay.
Pleasure. Okay. Thank you.
Am I allowed to ask?
No.
Okay.
Well, go ahead. Now I want to know which one to ask.
I thought that, change, to the P&Z procedures is coming to us now. I thought you would ask one to the straight out of this.
Were you looking at me?
What change are you talking about? What,
The change that created some of this.
At the last minute, 29 pages of information was provided to the P&Z from a member of the public about something they were seeing for the second time, because it was continued the first time. So at the second meeting, somebody at the last minute submitted 29 pages of information and wanted the Planning and Zoning Commission to consider all of that before they made the decision. And so they continued it a second time. And the email I got from Mr. Mills was essentially, this does not fit with my work time.
This has become a recurring occurrence.
And so the suggestion was to set a policy that the public, I guess, cannot submit, we'll have a deadline for when they can submit things to
absolutely,
the,
yeah.
Yeah, I believe Mr. Pete was working on something. I'll check to make sure. and we'll get it done as soon as we can.
Yeah, because I wasn't expecting that tonight, is it?
I thought the message I got the other day was you would ask them to have that prepared for the next meeting.
I think a draft has been sent for staff review and finalization. It should come by the next meeting, but it's already been worked on. I'm aware of it.
But, Mr. Colbert, a question about that issue also. Is it legal standing for us to accept an anonymous?
Well, if somebody presents a document timely for the record, it's part of the record. Whether it's meaningful or not would be for the board to weigh, and whether it's anonymous or by somebody with personal knowledge or something like that would be for the board to weigh, but it would still be part of the record. But the weight it would receive would be up to the board to decide.
And this 29 pages, was it anonymous?
Yes.
Good Lord. So it's not, yeah, well, Mr. Rose. Let me ask you something, he is a tremendous asset to that board. Is it worth reaching out to him and say, we're getting the situation rectified? Reconsider, I mean, has he absolutely resigned already?
He has resigned. I did speak with him briefly. And we've already appointed somebody to replace him.
Well, that's true. You know, it's just a shame because he,
Yeah.
in his professional and personal capacity both, he's just a true asset to that board.
And I shared with him that I would expect to see him working with the city in some other capacity.
I hope so.
Commissioner Hay, at the planning and zoning meeting, the commission did talk about, all his years of service and acknowledging.
Just a quick comment from a legal perspective, when someone resigns effective immediately, that ends the tenure.
That's true.
That would not
That's true.
prohibit somebody from reapplying and the commission
Right.
considering it. But
I
once
remember
it
that.
gets submitted, it's over.
Wasn't it the mayor of Oviedo or?
I've been involved in a few of those before, yeah.
Yeah, never say I quit unless you mean it.
Yeah, exactly. Think about what you say.
Yeah.
And we also sent him a thank you.
Man, it all wastes some time.
All right. Is that it?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, city manager.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, brings us citizens participation. I do have one request to speak from Andel Grant. Oh, and Elijah Campbell. Elijah, one of our state champions.
Oh,
Good evening.
bring him around to the side and.
My name
Nope, he's ready to go.
my name is Elijah Campbell. I am a part of a championship team. I am asking you to please allow us to use a field for our practice and our home games. We have to travel far, and many of my friends had to quit because it was too far. Please give us a field. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Angela Grant. This is my grandson. I've been in Florida all my life. I went away from the military 15 years. Now this is my grandson. I've done part 1 of 33 years with my son, and now I'm doing it with my grandchild. And I'm the team grandmother, so I like my job. We just asking that to please try to find a space or let us use a space to have the games. You have to travel so far away and get up. They game be at 8 o'clock. So that means kids have to get up at 6 o'clock to go to St. Cloud for a home game. So we just asking, what can we do? This team started with Mr. Hardy, and everything came out of his pocket. Everything came out of his pocket. So we just asking y'all, please find it in y'all hearts to give them a field, because they're 5 to 6 years old. Some of them never played football. They're on a championship team. So as a grandmother, please, if you can find your heart, just to find a spot, let us know what we can do to help do whatever y'all want us to do to make a field for them. So I'm just asking. I want to say thank you, Mayor, sir, for your reaction to my text message, and I thank you for that. And I want to thank Ms. Seminole Florida Sanford Herald for acknowledging our guys. So please, 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 and thank you.
And as I think I explained to you, it's a matter of being able to schedule the fields we have. I wish we had more. But Jerry, you wanna
Yes, sir.
just wave? Okay. Can you talk with them and let them know what the procedure is? I mean, we don't have a lot of time available on our fields, but just to see if anything's available would be a first place to start if you haven't already done that. Okay. Ms. Randy.
You talking about doing the season, doing the time that Dominic's in the season?
All season, Mr. Williams.
Okay. The fall and the spring?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else from the audience wish to speak?
Is there, just curious about their team, is their football field, I don't want to ask this in front of children and it not sound right.
Same size.
Is it the same size football field or?
It depends on the age level.
So they're not 100 yards?
Not the 5, 6 year olds,
Okay.
but as you get into the older age,
Right.
they move to the full size field.
Okay. And your league has all the ages, right?
Yes.
So eventually you need to get up to 100 yards?
Yes.
Good question. All right. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Seeing no one, I'll close the citizen participation and bring it to city commissioner reports. Commissioner Brennan.
I think I discussed all of mine at the work session. Iron K with Hollaback's Oktoberfest. I love how that's being done with being on Commercial Street in front of the Civic Center. For it to have a large event and it won't really affect any other businesses. I thought that was very neighborly, and kudos to them.
Again, just to reiterate what I said after the work session, we'll be doing a food giveaway this Friday in Seminole Gardens from 1 to 3. And then we'll be at Bentley Wilson Park next Friday over in Georgetown, food giveaway. So if anybody knows anyone that wants to participate in that, please let them know. I have flyers up here with me as well. And then for you all that have been coming to my District 2 meetings, or if you have not been coming, we have them once a month on the 4th Thursday. And I'm going to have one next Thursday as well. And the last few that we've been having on the west side, that's District 2. So, but if you're not even in District 2, if you want to still know I have directors that come in and speak, and we have different visitors from the health department, SSC, Seminole High School, principal. You can come to the meeting. And I have had these last few meetings, 30 to almost 80 citizens come out. So please spread the word. And also I want to thank the staff for Saturday. Jerry, really appreciate you guys, man. The event that was hosted, and you guys always do a class act, man, and I really appreciate each of you guys, staff as a whole. I do anything I can, and I know that you guys do the same for not just me, but for all our citizens as a whole, so I want to tell you thank you. That's it.
Back to the topic of football fields and fields for our youth. I think it's time for us at least to analyze what it would cost to make the field across from Sanford Middle a full-size football field. I know I've been talking with Lisa Jones recently about some issues there and making it more of a park than what it is, just open space. And I think they've been making some improvements there, but We're a large enough city where we should have fields for our youth to participate and be able to play in their hometown. For many years, Pop Warner rented the fields at the high school, but that has become, an issue and costly issue. I believe mine and former Mayor Triplett's hopes was we were going to have 2 full-size football fields there at the community center, and that we would be able to do some of this, but that hasn't happened, and I think it's time for this city to step up for its children. And at least, we talk about rec impact fees, doing this, doing that, we do all this other stuff. How about a rec impact fee for our kids?
I don't disagree with the thing you're saying, but what we do have to remember, I think, and consider is this: if we're going to spend a significant amount of money improving what I believe is called the 20th Street Park, then maybe it's time to go ahead and make that decision as to whether it really is going to be a designated park. At one point, the residents in that area asked us to designate it as a park. Former Mayor Triplett, and at that time, I think the rest of the commission did not, because, that property is city-owned, and the concern was that it's valuable, going to become more valuable, and, did the city need to use that piece of property as park and open space, or would it in fact be sold? That was originally where the public safety complex was supposed to go before it was moved. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the commission members back at that time were very adamantly opposed to designating it a park at that time, until we really had a plan and knew what the plan was for it. And so before we spend a lot of money on improvements, I don't disagree that maybe that's absolutely the best use for that piece of property, but let's be sure that, if we turn around a year later and get an offer on it, I say let's make it a park and recreation and open space, not only for football, but for a lot of other uses, or recognize, or even if we do that, that at some point it may not be a permanent park.
Well, it's in my district, and I originally spent my first 4 years envisioning the city selling that property and using the money for many other needs we have. But I also know that for a long time this city has needed space for its kids and hasn't had it. And as a former coach in both the city programs and other programs, this is something that has been long overdue. And our city is growing, and we still don't have the basic amenities for our youth that other cities have. And so we own that property, we have that property, we have a wonderful community garden there. I'd like to see us add some composting. I've talked to Lisa about some other things we'd like to add there. Maybe that front corner eventually is sold for some kind of something, but the majority of that property I think needs to be looked at least, if it's viable.
I'm sorry.
No.
If we're gonna, hopefully you all are on board. If we're gonna do that and say that we do it for them, now that we have other properties, that's a unique place that you can get a good field there and be able to have parking where it's going to be, because they don't have anything. And I've talked to all the leagues, and that's why I was asking Ms. Grant before she left. I've talked to all of them in all the different leagues. That's why I was asking what time of the season. And they would have to be able to have to share. But we have guys, 3 or 4 youth football teams. And if we could do something, if we're going to do it, that could be something that we could have for them to be able to do. I don't know about the practice, but it's
not going to solve all the problems.
Yeah, it won't solve all, but it will help a tremendous amount. And it's great to hear you guys consider it. That would be very great for them. It's very much so needed.
All right. Anything else?
Sorry to give you more work, Jerry.
For the kids. For the kids.
That's it, thank you.
Commissioner Haney?
I'll be making a trip to Huntsville, Alabama. So I'll be coming home on the Monday of our next commission meeting. Now,
If you come home a champion, you have to come to the meeting.
well, what I was gonna say is,
And bring the champion.
I'm
And
gonna,
bring the champion.
bring the champion to the meeting. I don't know that you want
I'll
the
do a
champion.
proclamation.
You'll do a proclamation for the champion?
What?
We need Commissioner Williams here for that.
Let her know.
Oh, yeah, she'll be right here.
One of them is gonna have to be in a cage.
I'm gonna-
Because she's on the like a cat.
So, Commissioner Haney.
So my plan is to leave Huntsville Sunday night and try to get deep into Georgia so that I can get here by the meeting, because we've got some pretty big issues at the meeting, but I'm sure, coming that far, I'm sure I won't be here at the work session. But I will come heck or high water, even if I have to leave the champion sitting in the back seat.
No,
I'll be
Champ's
at the
gotta come
meeting.
in. Champ's gotta come in.
Anything else?
Good luck.
Yeah.
Safe travels.
Also, happy Father's Day.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
We'll see you guys.
Yeah, see, we didn't get a proclamation.
You didn't ask. You heard the state representative. He said you don't get stuff you don't ask for.
I don't think y'all did a proclamation for the mothers either, did you?
You didn't ask.
There was a text message.
Oh.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, a couple of things real quick. I left at each of y'all's places the new season for the Wayne Dench, the Ritz Theater at the Wayne Dench Performing Arts Center. We have rebranded. And for those of y'all in the audience, I left, there's some on the table in the back also. Great season coming up. The one that's not on there that's coming up this month, June 24th to 27th, is our kids. Junior rep is doing Frozen, June 24th to 27th. A couple of things have been mentioned about the event this past weekend. I want to talk about that a little bit. It was the Peace Run, which is, Patrick, say his name. What's the guy's name?
Sri Chimberley.
Okay, it started this, and basically they go every other year they go around with a torch and sort of run, around the country and in other countries all around the world.
Like the Olympic torch.
Yes, it's like the Olympic torch. Spreading the idea of peace and how we can get along better with each other throughout the world. And they started it in Sanford this year. And so I had the pleasure, I'm not sure it's pleasure, I wasn't expecting to actually run, but ran with the torch for 2 blocks, which was further than Commissioner Wiggins ran.
They didn't ask me to run that far.
They knew better.
Anyway, they started downtown and went to the Just Triplet Center and presented some awards to 4 members of the community, one of which was Commissioner Wiggins. Congratulations for all the work he does with youth. And also planted a tree in his honor and a tree in honor of former Mayor Tripp. Those are there next to the what's the good word for that building?
It is what it is.
The rest station. The rest station. So there will be where people are using the trail we come around.
The Jerry Sullivan.
And I believe everything else I already talked about. So, unless there's anything else, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.